not too bad. And we're on a live version of our podcast, which is exciting, isn't it?
Well, it is exciting. I'm sure the offices around the world are now distracted as people tune in. What a great thought.
Maybe YouTube will get overloaded. Won't be able to handle the amount of viewers we get, and we'll have to stop doing them. But who knows? We'll see. How's your week been, Paul?
My week, well, of course, it's 2 weeks since our last episode. And it has been very, very busy. As you know, I like to try and balance work and personal stuff. Increasingly, the line is blurred between the two. So I've been motorcycling in Spain. I've been in the Picos de Europa, the Spanish northern mountains, which has been excellent. And I played a bit of paddle when I was there. We're going to come on to talk about that, or I am at least.
Yeah.
I've also been to the e-consultancy Capability Leaders Forum. Thank you, Paul Davis, for the invite, which was...
I got invited to that too,
brilliant.
but I couldn't make it, unfortunately.
All right. Yes, we both got invited. Just because you couldn't make it. No, you were missed. It was very good.
Yeah.
And I've also, excitingly, walked up Scafell Pike. So I've never been up Scafell Pike or Ben Nevis or Snowdon, and now I've done one of them, so I'm quite pleased about that. And then in between, I've been doing a lot of training to help people get better at storytelling with data. So, you know, I am now like the Max Bygreaves of marketing, and I can tell you a story. That reference we lost on you. You're too young, but I can now tell you a story with data in my sleep.
I was going to pretend I knew what that was, but you can explain it to me later.
Look it up. Look it up on YouTube. We're not promoting, so just look it up on YouTube or other channels.
We'll leave a link in the comments. People can look up your references.
Yes. And how about you, Warren? Have you been a hermit in your shed for 2 weeks?
You've had a far more expansive 2 weeks with your travels and all sorts, Paul. But I have probably had the reverse of that in a way. So my wife's been away just for a couple of days, so I was looking after the kids, which was good. Lots of time spent with them. And at work, actually, it sounds really simple, but we're getting ready to send a survey out internally to some of us and to some of our supporters around a particular marketing project we want some feedback on. And actually, that sounds really simple, but actually requires a lot of prep to make sure you're bringing people on the journey with you, and you're consulting the right people, and you get the framing right for what you're sending out, so it doesn't confuse, and making sure that it lines up with other projects that are going on as well, and there's no kind of overlap. So, what sounds like a very simple thing, there's been a lot of prep around. So I've been prepping for that over the last 2 weeks, which has been good, and it goes live next week. So I'm excited to see the results of that.
Very good. Very exciting. I hope that you've managed to navigate your way successfully through your myriad group of stakeholders.
Yeah, I enjoy all that stuff. It's all good. It's all good stuff, and it's as much as important as the survey itself. So it's good. It's good, but it just goes to show you, it's just not about putting a questionnaire or a survey together. It's all the stuff around it as well. So it's kept me busy, which is good. And I'm interested to hear about your paddle versus tennis debrief, because that's been catching your eye, isn't it, lately?
Well, let me share. So paddle versus tennis. I mean, is it padel? Is it paddle? I don't know.
Am I pronouncing it wrong?
I don't know, Warren. I mean, have you played?
I've never played. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I've heard a few people say they play it, and I just haven't got into it yet. So it's on my list of things to do. I'm still in playing football, but not into paddle yet.
For the uninitiated, I mean, I'm a newbie, albeit I've played, I think, 4 times in the last 4 years. Every time it's been when I've been on a trip to Spain, and I've played in hotel courts, local leisure centre courts. And for anybody who doesn't know, paddle, let's call it paddle, is a easy to play social version of tennis crossed with squash, broadly speaking. It's an enclosed court, roughly the size of a tennis court, but you get longer rallies. It's very easy to play, and for a newbie like me, you can have good rallies with virtually no training or experience. And do you know, I mean, the reason I'm raising it here is because on the one hand, this is a sort of sports story, you know, which is better, paddle or tennis. But on another level or from another perspective, it's a strategy story and quite possibly a growth strategy or marketing strategy story. So that's what I thought we'll talk about. Now, here's a question, Warren. How many paddle courts do you think there were in the UK pre-lockdown, roughly?
I always get slightly nervous when you ask me questions because I'm worried you're going to ask me a maths questions, Paul. But before COVID, how many there were in the UK? 30?
Yeah, not far off. I believe, I mean, nobody knows exactly, but I believe about 50. How many do you think there are today?
I'm going to go for 250.
Well, you've undercooked it. 1,500. So we've gone in 6 years from 50 to 1,500. Wow, and this is because that explosion is because it's easy to take part. It's easy to build a court. There's easy ways of access. You don't have to be in a sports center or in a tennis club. And the contrast with tennis is quite interesting. You know, paddle is very forgiving, tennis highly technical. Tennis is generally an individual game. Paddle is a social game, you know, 4 people, or you can have a group swapping who they play with. Tennis is quite formal. I think of Wimbledon. Paddle, very casual. Turn up in whatever you've got. Tennis is built around the club. Paddle is just, you know, turn up and play. So I think, you know, if you were at a zero base and you wanted to invent a racket sport that fitted modern life, would it be tennis or would it be paddle? I think that's the question. What do you think?
I think it would be paddle because of its accessibility. Like you said, I think it's a lot more accessible for people to take part in paddle, and the simplicity of it. The reason why football's so successful is because you just need a ball and a court or a bit of grass to go and play, right? So paddle, similarly, maybe there's not as many barriers involved as there would be like with tennis. So potentially, but there is something around the heritage and legacy of tennis, I suppose. There's a reason it became successful. So it's a hard question to answer, but I guess my instinct in the way the world is at the moment would be paddle.
Well, interesting. I mean, it's a difficult question, and it's a question that has to be answered because the Lawn Tennis Association is the governing body for both sports. So both paddle and tennis are the responsibility of the LTA. And yet, culturally and commercially, they're quite different propositions. And there's a guy called Chris Pollard. I don't know him, but he's the commercial director. I think marketing is within his remit. And he's got to wrestle with that conundrum. What do I do? Not least because, think about Wimbledon. The Wimbledon Championships, of course, is tennis. And that funds, well, do you know how much of British tennis the Wimbledon Championships funds?
Because a big proportion of it, right? You're going to tell me.
How about 95%?
Yeah,
So
that's more than I thought.
Yeah, all of the leftover surplus from the Wimbledon Championships, once all the bills are paid, that goes to the LTA, and that is 90% of their revenue. And so you've got tennis driving all the money, but then paddle is driving all of the growth in participation. And so the challenge is, how do you protect tennis? How do you maximize the impact and the revenue generated through Wimbledon? But at the same time, how do you embrace paddle and avoid that sort of bubble where there's too many courts created You end up with spare capacity, and also how do you keep the two working together and helping the other? And it's a real, I suppose, portfolio architecture challenge that the LTA and Chris Pollard are facing. So tricky. But I have a thought about the solution. But before I share mine, maybe you've got some thoughts, Warren.
Well, I was just going to ask you a question. As paddle hasn't yet, I don't know a lot about paddle. So has paddle yet become? Is it on TV yet, or is anyone playing it at a TV level?
I don't know for sure. I think there is some stuff on TV, because you've got to bear in mind the UK is a bit behind countries like Spain, and others, I think, where paddle is pretty big. But I'm not certain about that. And certainly the coverage of paddle on TV is nothing like.
Is it a bit like, I don't know the history around this, but is it a bit like with six-a-side, five-a-side football, which emerged obviously at some point during the last 40 years? 11-a-side, five-a-side football. Five-a-side is a much more accessible version of football. People can play all during the week. I've played it. You've played it. It's a lot more accessible than 11-a-side, which is 2-hour games on a Saturday afternoon where it takes up your whole day, which you can just turn up to a sports court and play five-a-side football. Do the two sort of support each other in a way? So the football is very much 11-a-side, the TV sport, right? The big stadiums. Five-a-side hasn't really got to that level, although the Baller League is quite growing quite rapidly, which is similar. So I just wonder if they are two distinct things, but actually they're part of the same ecosystem and support each other. Have I got that right?
That is a very good thought. Get down to the LTA in Roehampton, share that thought with them straight away, because that makes a lot of sense. It's a good comparison.
Yeah.
My more radical thought, which is complementary to what you've talked about, is why doesn't the whole racket-based group of federations seek to get together? If you think about it, you've got squash, table tennis, paddle, tennis, pickleball. I may have missed a couple. All of them are racket sports. They've all got separate governing bodies, apart from obviously tennis and paddle. From a ordinary person's point of view, it's about hitting balls with rackets. And if they could all work together and say, let's get more people into racket sports, and we in a way don't care which one, then you can complement, because the risk is that it's a bit of a zero-sum game, and the people who go to paddle don't go to tennis. Whereas exactly as you say, maybe if you got another million people into paddle, maybe 2% of those go into tennis, and that makes a significant difference to the input of talent into tennis, and life into tennis clubs, and on it goes. So, I mean, I know from having worked closely with sports governing bodies, it's a nightmare trying to get them to work together in most instances. But if you can get them to see the greater good, there might be an opportunity. And of course, the step back is, if the ideal is you have one governing body for all racket sports, the step back is you have some sort of association where they collaborate, and perhaps that exists informally or otherwise. I don't know. That's a halfway house, maybe.
I wonder if paddle and all those other racket sports that aren't tennis are a way in, particularly with kids and children at an earlier young age. Actually, are they a way more accessible way to then get those kids into tennis? So they start with paddle, but they can move on. It might not be paddle, it might be a version of paddle for kids. I don't know, not knowing the game, I don't know how difficult that would be for kids, but I just wonder whether that could be a route to tennis, because it can feel, tennis, like a little bit inaccessible maybe to some people. So maybe paddle's the route in.
Yeah, maybe it is. And look, I think there's a place for all of these things. I just think it's a really interesting marketing conundrum as to how you manage that portfolio, either at an LTA level, tennis and paddle, or at a racket sports level where you include squash and badminton and other sports as well.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, that in a microcosm is the sort of challenge that marketeers face on a not irregular basis as they look at their portfolio of products and services. So there you are, from
Love that.
Spain, paddle, motorcycling, to marketing conundrums and challenges. How's that?
Love that. Yeah, love that. Love that. It's one we could hopefully we'll get some views and opinions on. And
Yeah, I'd love that.
Back.
Now, enough of me rattling on about how bad I am at paddle. What did you want to talk about based on what you've seen over the last couple of weeks?
Well, the World Cup's coming.
It is.
It is coming. It's not far off.
Is any team not in the World Cup, by the way?
I know, it's ridiculously big now, isn't it? Which I don't know how it's going to go. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. It feels a bit too big, doesn't it? Actually, it's starting mid-June, and then I'm going on holiday at the end of July, and I realised that I didn't even realise the World Cup final was when I'll be going away, and I just thought it's so far away from when the World Cup starts. It surprised me. But anyway, it's coming, the hype's building, and so that means it's ad season, right? So all the big brands will be getting involved. And like a couple of weeks ago, well, it might be just a week ago, Adidas launched their latest ad. So there's often a lot of hype around, you know, these ads with big partners around the World Cup. You'll all remember Nike over the years have done a few big ones. Adidas have just done one. Spent 50 million, apparently, according to sources and reports that I've seen, it cost around 50 million.
What, to make the ad?
I think so. It might.
50
I don't know
million?
I think so. Let me check that. That's a
good.
good.
I mean, who knows? But that's a lot of.
I saw the number 50 million, and now I'm wondering, Paul. But let me find out.
Better be good. 50 million.
As we go through this, I will come back and confirm whether that.
I mean, I don't want to dispute your sources, Warren, but that, you know, that's a small blockbuster. So maybe it is.
Judging by the people that are in it, maybe it is. So there's big names in it. So Timothy Chalamet is kind of the narrator lead of the ad. This ad's about
he's everywhere.
He's everywhere. That guy.
He is the Ramesh of the movie world.
Well, I think the reason he's in there is to appeal outside of the sport, right? So it's probably American audiences. Perhaps it grounds it for them a little bit. But he's just one of a number of big names in it. The rest are from the sporting world, the football world. So you've got Jude Bellingham in it. You've got Lamine Yamal, who's obviously massive at the moment. You've got Lionel Messi. You've got Dembele, Rafinha, Pedri. You've even got Beckham, Zidane, and Del Piero from yesteryear. And this thing is just jam-packed with people. And it's getting a lot of buzz online. It's got a lot of views. It's been kind of lauded as an incredible ad by a few sources. Whereas I sort of differ of opinion of it because it feels to me like what they've done is overstuff it with names. So there's a lot going on in this. So essentially the narrative of it is that you've got these three people that playing football on a court in an urbanised area. They've been doing it for 20, 30 years. And they've beaten the likes of Zidane and Beckham sort of 20 years ago. They've beaten all kinds of different people that have come to go and play them. And Timothy Chalamet is trying to recruit three footballers that can then go and compete and beat the kind of backyard footballers that are beating everyone, essentially. So it's quite a nice idea. It's a good story, but it just feels a bit overcomplicated to me. And there's not much room. There's not much space around it. There's a lot of explanation from Timothy at the beginning, which is fun, but I just think it lacks emotional impact. And when you compare it back to the Nike advert sort of 25 years ago of the Brazilians kicking the ball around the airport and the purity and simplicity of that, and the legacy of that, people still talk about it today, and people still remember it, and that obviously holds space in people's minds for Nike. I'm just not sure this is cutting it for me. So I'm going against the grain of what maybe other people are saying. But I mean, I think what they set out to do is trying to celebrate the spirit of football, but it just feels overly complex and almost a bit forced to me. And they've also AI'd. They've also AI'd David Beckham, Zidane, and Del Piero, because part of the story is going back 20 years to when they played these three footballers, and they've AI'd them to look younger, which it just feels a bit odd to me. Like, it just didn't look right. It just didn't look right to me. It just feels very artificial and forced, and I just wonder if the hype will be a flash in the pan, and actually will you be talking about this ad in 5 years' time? But I don't know if you've seen it, Paul. I'm interested. What
you know, I haven't seen it. I've been a bit off channels to an extent.
Yes.
It's not entirely true. I mean, is it linear TV or is it elsewhere?
I think it's for online because it's 5 minutes long. Maybe there's a shortcut that I haven't seen on TV. But I think it's going to be part of the series. You don't actually see the team he's recruited play each other. So, yeah, I think there will be more series off the back of this. I've actually read that there will be.
Well, let's stick a link in the chat when we load up this session and see what people think. Maybe they agree with you. Maybe they disagree. I don't know. I don't have a view, but I wouldn't like to be the person who's committed to that expenditure without them having massive sort of plaudits coming their way, because you can easily see the finance director saying, hang on a minute, have we quite spent our money where we get the most bang for our buck? Yeah.
I mean, it just says £50 million Adidas ad. So I'm assuming that is how much it costs to make. But we'll see. We'll find out more. We'll post that in the comments to clarify. Okay. But I just think that if you go back to Nike's strategy 30 years ago, Adidas were the official partner then. Nike looked to upend that by creating a really brilliant ad that was going to get cut through. Obviously, they had to get the Brazil national team, so it wasn't going to be cheap. But the tactics they employed around that were, I think they probably spent far less money than probably what Adidas spent on official partnerships. So, yeah, it's just interesting. I just wonder if they've overstuffed it with sort of ambassadors who they know are going to get attention and PR, but actually is the ad itself that good? Question for people to answer.
Provocative, Warren.
Yes. Any on that note, what are you looking to do the next 2 weeks, Paul? What are you up to?
Well, the next couple of weeks, where are we? We're towards the past the middle of May. Some really good stuff. I'm in the midst of creating a marketing masterclass, which we're trialing with a team in Southern Europe. That is going to be brilliant. That's going to be rolled out in Madrid towards the end of June. So it's all hands to the pump on that. I'm helping a newly reorganized communications team to make sense of their growth priorities. That's a nice piece of strategic work. I'm also prepping for some sessions I'm running in June to help some marketers with their strategic influencing skills. How can they get a better seat at the table when it comes to discussing the big marketing issues? And also some really interesting stuff around creating career maps, just helping marketeers have clarity about where they can move to next, both within their current sort of role area or even beyond that into different areas of the business. So yeah, there's a lot of delivery work going on. So I'm going to be bit nose to the grindstone over the next couple of weeks, but in a good way. It's not a painful process. Far from it. It's creating good content for interesting companies and interesting people. So yeah, looking forward to that. But just don't expect me to be available very much, because it's going to be a full on couple of weeks. How about you?
I'll make sure I'm not contacting you, Paul. Or keep you some space.
Send me a WhatsApp, but no home visits in that time.
No, are you playing paddle in that 2 weeks?
I am. I'm playing on Monday. Yeah, I'm just waiting for my sponsorship deal from whoever. But yeah, Monday.
Maybe we could get them to sponsor the podcast at some point. Yeah,
I'd love that. Yeah. And how about you? What are you up to?
I main thing for me next week, really is. I'm doing some media training actually, so I've got a day of that next week. So I'm looking forward to that. Dipping my toes back into my comms shoes.
Yes.
I'm a comms person, so I've done lots of speaking to the media over the years, but it's always good to.
Oh, I see. So this is how to be with the media. Ooh.
Yeah. So be under the microscope. I think someone will be testing us on crisis management, and you know.
I'm going to test you, right? Okay.
Yeah, next week, maybe in 2 weeks' time, you can ask me some questions live on the pod. See how I respond. Maybe not.
Yeah,
but
do that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's what I've got next week. So I'm looking forward to pushing myself a little bit with that. So that's good.
Good luck.
Yeah, great stuff. So that's me. Yeah, well, Paul, I hope you have a good 2 weeks, and look forward to catching up with what you've been up to in 2 weeks' time.
Can't wait. Thank you, Warren.
Cheers. Over and out.